Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line. My name's Emma, and I'm joined, as always, by my very lovely guest, Marcie. That's an horrible... It's awful. It's awful. I can't do a good British accent. It's awful.
No.
I can do
You
it. I can do it. I never do that ever again.
Please, don't.
Oh, my accents are terrible. But we're here.
We're here.
We're doing this episode on Thursday because yesterday was a national holiday, and also I was driving back from Toronto, so I was like on the 401 for most of my day yesterday. So
Yeah.
Could not record unless Marcie wanted to record at midnight, which we're not doing one of those like early morning, late night episodes again.
I had a 9 a.m. lecture, and I was not.
It's too much.
It was not meant to be.
It's too much. But we do have a lot to talk about. In terms of the Leafs, I don't know where to start, man. We've got what you know what? We'll start with Leafs in Philadelphia, Leafs and Flyers. No Rielly, of course, serving the second game of his 5-game suspension. Jones also out as well, still with the day-to-day injury in that game, so Hildeby was as backup. Auston Matthews, I think, is probably the biggest story of that game.
Yeah, just Auston Matthews.
I think that's like the ongoing trend for most of the games we're going to talk about. Scores a hat trick, his 5th of the season, which ties him for most in a single season in Leafs history. And mind you, there was still like 30 games left in the season at this point. Like 31 games or something. Like, it's February. The trade deadline hasn't even passed. And he's already at... Also as well, like, Travis Konechny wanted to fight Mark Giordano again. Like, they have, like...
Yeah. I mean, in all fairness, I too just like constantly want to fight bald men.
Yeah.
So like, I understand. I understand it. I respect. Yeah, I
don't
respect
know. I don't have a lot going on with this game necessarily, just because also it was like
a while ago.
5 days ago.
I forget what like writing that stuff down, and I was like, I've got like 3 points.
And one of them is the fact that like we actually played well in overtime. Because we won this game. This game did go to overtime, but Nylander got the goal in overtime. It was actually not a great third period from the Leafs defensively either. They allowed 2 goals. But it doesn't matter. They won anyways. Again, winning without Morgan Rielly. Yeah. Again, an ongoing trend for this episode. It's always great when we get to talk about Leaf wins, for sure. Yeah, Auston Matthews. Like...
just what?
Craziness. And they're all like good shots. Like, he doesn't, like, it's not like he's getting lucky. I don't want to say lucky, but like, it's not like they're cheap goals. They're still good goals.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Like, I just watched them. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Leafs and Ducks, though. I want to take some time talking about this one, though, because this one way more fun. Leafs win 9-2. Which is crazy. Dot still starts for Anaheim. Note, I say starts because he did not finish the game for Anaheim, which is he put up what, like a 54 save performance the last time the Leafs played Anaheim. Not the Leafs. Yeah. The Leafs played Anaheim. Yep, that was right. Jones in for Toronto, so he's back. Just the reasoning, unfortunately, was to give Samsonov a rest before he started Monday against St. Louis.
I had my little moment of delusion where I was like, oh my god, they're getting ready for Wolves' big return on Monday. Do you know what they didn't do? Get ready for Horse Big Return on Monday.
But there was no Tavares as he was dealing with a day-to-day injury. And then also no Giordano as well due to the fact that his father passed away. We send our deepest condolences to him and his family. He is still not returned to the lineup. I don't even know if he's traveled with the Leafs for this road trip. I would assume not.
No.
Unless he joins them halfway. Unless he joins them halfway through the road trip. I think we probably won't see him until next week. But also to add on to the Leafs' defensive woes, I wouldn't say woes because they've been good defensively without Morgan Rielly during this stretch. Maybe just to add on to the fact that they're having to dip into their depth chart pretty deep here.
Pretty deep.
Lagesson left the game in the first after only playing just over a minute 30 of ice time and did not return to the game. Leafs PR put out saying that it was due to an upper body injury. It looks honestly like they showed the replay on the broadcast a little bit later. And it looks like it was not necessarily like, because when you think upper body, you are like thinking like, oh, like shoulder or something like that. It looks lower back, which is still upper body, but it was like they showed him making an awkward reach for the puck and then him on the bench and him gesturing towards his lower back. So we can assume it's probably something like that. Sheldon Keefe did say he would be missing some time, which is unfortunate due to the fact that he's now back in the lineup a little bit more regularly, especially with Rielly out. And for him to get hurt sucks. Rielly and Connor Timmins, because Connor Timmins is still out with mono. So that's like 4 defensemen who aren't in the lineup right now.
Yeah.
Right? Rielly, Giordano, Lagesson, Timmins. So you're going really deep into your depth chart right now for the Leafs defensively.
I'm not being funny, but like if we lose one more defenseman, they're gonna call me up.
No, they're gonna just start roaming the streets of downtown Toronto and will go up to someone and be like, "Can you skate backwards?" Yes. Here's your jersey. You start tomorrow.
No, they're like, you start in about an hour.
Yeah, let's go.
It's like, come on.
But yeah, also again, Auston Matthews with the back-to-back hat trick for the second time this season. This is not the first time Auston Matthews has had hat tricks in back-to-back games. He's done it already.
Not real.
Also, he had a career high night in points with 5, which is crazy to think about that's his career high. Right? You think, oh yeah, sure, but no. Career high 5 points in a game. Also as well, Bertuzzi breaks his curse, scoring his first goal in about 20 games.
Yes.
So good for him. Also as well, Bobby McMann, offensive powerhouse. Bobby McMann scores 2. Should have gotten the hat trick.
Oh my god, I was getting I was like, please. As I so beautifully put it on in one of my tweets, I was McManifesting a hat trick.
McManifesting a hat trick. But like Bobby McMann, I don't know what it's been. This guy has been on fire. And I think part of it is that he is putting in the effort night in, night out. I don't know necessarily if he's fighting for a spot in the lineup now, because he was a couple games ago.
Yeah.
Right?
I think he's you can't get rid of him.
You can't scratch him.
Like if he carries on.
Think about it. The game he scores his hat trick, he only played in because Tavares and Marner were out sick and he wasn't expecting to play. So, but yeah, Bobby McMann, I think at this point, like he's fighting to keep his spot on the second line not necessarily to keep a spot in the lineup. We're going to talk about that when we talk about the second game of the season versus the Blues. But Nylander also gets 500 career points. What a milestone for him.
Look at him go.
Yeah, I have a fun stat from NHL. This is from NHL PR, just about Auston Matthews and his stupid hat tricks. Auston Matthews becomes the 10th different player in NHL history to score 6 hat tricks in a season, and he's still got 29 games left to play. He joins, so tied with him in 6 he also is tied with him in 6, Mario Lemieux twice, Wayne Gretzky.
Oh my god. Auston Matthews.
Like you look at the names on this list. I'm looking at the names on this list. Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux are each here 3 times, and then it's Mike Bossy, Brett Hull, Alexander McGinley, Richard Martin. Those are the guys on this list for most hat tricks in a season since 73-74. And there's still 29 games left this season. Like, not 28 now, I think, or 27. Like, whatever it is, it's February still.
Yeah.
There's still 2 months left of the season. We haven't even hit the trade deadline. The trade deadline's not for another, 2.5 weeks.
I don't even, know what to say. What?
The last time we had a check-in for his goal-scoring rate, it was 75. He was on rate to score 75, which is ridiculous. That's
absolutely ridiculous.
That's crazy. Like, I love how we were all like, last year we were like, oh no, he scored 52. He's washed. Like, we also should realize, he started that, he was hurt. They come out and he's like, oh yeah, he had surgery on his wrist.
No wonder. That makes sense.
That makes sense. Like, this is the Auston Matthews that we were seeing when he scored 62. Did he score 60 or 62?
Ooh.
Did he get those 2 more? Anyways, doesn't matter. He scored 60. I think, can Auston Matthews break 70? 70? Absolutely. Yeah.
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 Easily.
Because, again, this guy's crazy. Crazy. But also as well, just, because sort of highlight just how far down the depth chart the Leafs have to reach for defense. Mitch Marner was taking shifts on right D. When I say shifts, I mean multiple shifts. He was out there, right? And he wasn't half bad.
No, you know what? If worst comes to worst, Mitch, I hope you like skating backwards.
Mitch, I hope you like. I think also as well, could solve our depth problems. Having a multifaceted. It's like when Sheldon Keefe was throwing Connor Timmins up there as a forward. Do you remember that last season?
That was
noted
wild.
Power forward Connor Timmins.
What was going on back then?
Oh my god! Connor Timmins. Not Connor. Mitch Marner is you could tell Sheldon was having fun with it when they decided to review the Leo Carlsson goal.
That was so funny. I was sat and I was like, it is 8-1.
It is 8-1.
8-1.
And you were reviewing a Leo Carlsson goal for what was it? Was it offside?
I don't even actually know what it was.
I think it was offside that they were reviewing it for. Like, you were just like, yeah, sure.
I genuinely can't remember. I was like, but you know what? Like, as much as like people were like, I saw people on Twitter, they were like, oh, well, you know, was there any need to do that? And I'm like, it's the Leafs. I don't care if they've got a 7-goal lead.
Yeah, like they've given it up before. Like,
it could all go very, very wrong. Very, very quickly.
Do we all remember that Detroit game from last season? It's the Leafs. Nothing is out of the question with them in terms of what they can and cannot do. But I think, like, yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. It's 8-2. And I was watching it with friends of mine. I was watching the game with friends of mine because it was a Saturday night. And I was home. And so I was watching with a bunch of friends of mine from skiing. And I think it was when it was like 7-1, they were like 9-2, final score. Someone else at another point in time was like TJ Brody, TJ Brody had the puck behind the Ducks net in his possession, and they just go, he should go for the Michigan. TJ Brody should go for you. That's how you know. You're like, oh no, when you're like suggesting that TJ Brody should go for the Michigan.
Oh my god.
That if there was a game for David Kampf to reattempt the Michigan, that was the one.
That was the one.
That was the one.
Oh god.
Also as well in that game, Toronto became the 15th team in NHL history to record a hat trick in at least 3 consecutive games. The only other team to do it in the past 30 years was Washington in 2009 to 2010, and yes, Ovechkin did factor in on those hat tricks.
No surprise.
No surprise. That's my, like, I'm going to say this, and we say this every time we talk about, like, the Leafs and a record. We are watching the Leafs do things this season where they talk about these records and they're like, oh yeah, and the last guy to do it, Alexander Ovechkin. It's like the names it's like Wayne Gretzky, yeah, Mario Lemieux, yeah, and Alexander Ovechkin. And then you're like, okay, and then Auston Matthews is doing it. Like, it's yes, it's frustrating when the Leafs don't play well, but it is so fun to watch when they do play well.
Actually play.
Like, this last stretch of games have been so fun. They're 4-0 since Ottawa, which is crazy.
Insane.
Also, I do have to say, Max Domi, one of the girlies, fought Radko Gudas.
Girls girl.
Did it for
Domi
Joseph Wool.
Is a girl's girl.
Did it for Joseph Wool. Also, as well, I do have to say, Ryan Reeves wanted to fight Radko Gudas so bad.
Oh my god.
Should have let him do it.
Bad.
Should have let him do it.
No, I had because obviously I went home on Sunday and I watched the game back with my grandma because she was like, oh, like she was asking about the Leafs and I was like, oh yeah, they won 9-2 last night. We watched the game back. She listening to her commentary was the best thing of my life because she would like when Reeves was just when he was being Ryan Reeves, she was like, you know what? He's a bit cheeky. He likes to stir the pot a bit, and I'm like, yes, he does. And then she's also a certified Radko Gudas hater now. She was like, oh, because the Joseph Wool incident, and she was like, that's not very nice. And then every time he was involved in something, she'd be like, of course he's there. So my grandma, she knows what's up.
Radko Gudas also had his worst game defensively of like basically if not the season of his entire career that game too. Like he was on ice for like 5 of the Leafs goals.
Pure poetry.
Like, whoa. So Leafs and Blues, the the date we've had on our calendar all season. Unfortunately, Joseph Wool will have to wait till next year to start in front of his hometown crowd. Samsonov gets to start. Keith said Joseph Wool is not quite ready to come back to the lineup. I think. Did you just sneeze or did you sob?
I think so.
From what Keith said, it makes it seem like Joseph Wool is not even on the on this road trip with the Leafs, because of the fact that the Leafs don't have any practices scheduled during this road trip, and just by the way, Sheldon Keefe has been saying like, oh, we want him practicing and we want him to, feel better in how and so he can come back. And it's a very interesting quote that Sheldon Keefe said. That is here. This is via Jonas Siegel. Sheldon Keefe said he's just got to continue to work through it and get to a point where he himself feels confident to be playing games. So yeah, not on the road trip. Not that I'm not saying that he's not on the road trip. Maybe he is. Who knows?
I miss
Auston Matthews scored. Well, actually, we'll first talk about Matthew Nyes. I think, is this a good time to put in or should I wait until after we go through this whole game and then we'll talk about Matthew Nyes?
I think we give him his own little moment.
Okay. Auston Matthews scored his 49th of the season. You know what? Sets him up to score his 50th in front of his hometown crowd in Arizona.
If we can't have Joseph Wool playing against the Blues, I'll take Auston Matthews scoring his 50th in front of his family.
Also as well, Marshall Rielly makes his NHL debut with Lagers and Hurt. The 25-year-old is Quebecois. He's from Quebec. Has played 3 seasons with the Marlies. Played NCAA hockey with Harvard. He's a Harvard gentleman. Gentleman of Harvard. that was a Social Network reference for the for those who are sharp enough to get it, who have seen the movie as many times as I have. But I think it was a good game from him. Leafs just posted a photo.
What?
Oh, it's for the Two Black Guys collection.
Ah.
But yeah, no.
I just opened Instagram and got the Sabres dad's trip pictures.
But yeah, so right. I think the Quebecois are multiplying on this team. It started with Simon Benoit, and they added Max Lajoie back in a more permanent role. Now it's Marshall Rielly. Scary, horrifying. The Tabarnak per 60 of this team is going up tenfold. Games go on.
Just every single game, it's just someone's gonna pop up and just sneak into the line. You're like, oh, who's this? And they're like, he's here.
I am though long convinced that the secret to having a Stanley Cup winning team is you have to have at least one Quebecois on your roster. My proof, I'm still working on it. It takes a long time to go back through all the rosters, but so far there's been at least a Quebecois. If I go all the way back to I think if I go back to at least until before Tampa is what I've gone to, and I've been like, okay, this is enough proof for me. But I do want to go back all the way and see when was the last time a Stanley Cup winning team didn't have a Quebecois player on their roster, just because I'm purely curious. This is the stats that interest me.
Yeah.
Right?
We need to know.
See if that's the secret, because also as well, the Leafs haven't had a Quebecois on their roster for considerable amount of games. I think they've had a couple that have played like 1 or 2 games here or there as call-ups, but they haven't had, like, before this season, haven't had one since Frederick Gauthier.
Oh, I miss him so much.
Frederick Gauthier, who his nickname, like
guy.
the goat, that was his nickname. That was like something I was going back. I was like looking at like Travis Dermott's like Wikipedia page. And then I remembered that his nickname with the Leafs was the Skin Doctor. They were like, oh yeah, dermatologist, skin doctor. Who was that? You know what? No, don't answer that question. That has Joe Thornton written all over it.
It does.
Because you know how he was with the Mac Hollowell nicknames.
Can you stop bringing up people that I miss? Please. I am suffering as it is.
Bobby, also who else scored this game? Bobby McMahon scored. Bobby McMahon got the empty netter to just seal the deal for the Leafs. He was on the second line with Tavares and Nylander this game. Well deserved after his recent play.
Absolutely.
I also think as well, like this game, like, I'm sorry, it was the fact that he went after the puck, battled for the puck in open ice, swung his stick around.
Fought for it.
He fought for it, swung his stick around, and scored the empty netter. I think that's like just shows
I love seeing
how much
when our certified little guys do well.
Oh, absolutely.
They graduate from bottom 6 to top 6.
Top 6. They get those top 6 blues in practice.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful,
brings a tear to my eye.
I think as well, like the fact that he's like, I think that empty net goal is just proof to how much effort he's putting into his game. You know, he's battling on every shift.
Yeah, like he's going out there and he's giving it everything he's got and some. And you can see it, and it is paying off.
It is paying off big time for this guy. He is at how many goals now? I've lost count.
I think he's
7?
7 or 8. 1 sec.
It's not.
He has scored. Drumroll, please. 8 goals.
8 goals. Congratulations to Bobby McMahon on 8 goals, which, you know what? We can say it's a career high because he didn't get any last season. But this is a guy who knows how to score goals. You know, he was 21 in 30 games with the Marlies last year, if I have that stat correct. So, you know, this is a guy who's not afraid of, or not unfamiliar with putting the puck in the back of the net. Matthew Knies is another guy we want to highlight as well. Scores his 10th of the season against the St. Louis Blues. Joins Yarncroke as the only Leaf outside of the core 4. So that's core 4 of forwards. So that's Marner, Tavares, Nylander, and Matthews to hit double digits in goals this season. Yarncroke is out hurt, but I think he's come out with a much stronger play post All-Star game. I think definitely that break in the schedule and that rest did him a world of good. You know, and I think it's always nice for him to realize that he's a big guy. Like Michael, like we have to think about who's been a winger, like that left winger to Marner and Matthews. And it's Zach Hyman, who's a fairly big guy, right? If I remember his size correctly. Yeah, he's 6'1" and fairly large. He's 6'1" and sorry, the NHL sites. I should have these open. 6'1" and like 206 pounds, right? Right? So he's a fairly large guy. And then you have Michael Bunting, who plays bigger than he actually is.
Yeah.
Right? He's only 5'11" and like
Just
I think he's
teeny tiny little guy.
Well, yeah. 5'11", 192. So not like huge. And then you have Matthew Nyes, who's like what, like
6'2".
2?
Yeah,
6'2" and 117 pounds. He's a big guy, and he's always been a larger player. Matthew said it after the game against St. Louis, about the fact that they've always been big. He made a joke about Matthew Nyes and his brother when they were 8 having 8-packs. The media, right? But it's nice. Like I think for sure, like to see Matthew Nyes remember that he's 6'2" and 117 pounds, in using his body along the boards to win battles is fantastic. And his goal in this game, I think, is very indicative of that. He battles for space using his sheer size and scores the grossest goal of his career. The goal was nasty. It was gross. It was gross.
Oh, I was like, needed.
Gross. Yeah, he has 6 points in his last 7 games since coming back from the All-Star break as well. I looked that up because it was like it kind of like, you're like, I don't know if you've almost felt like you weren't seeing him too much on the score sheet since coming back from the All-Star game, but he has been on the score sheet quite a bit as well. He scored 2 goals in that stretch as well, one against Ottawa and one yesterday against St. Louis. Also as well, like the chances he's been generating as well have been
so good. Unreal.
Like it's the intangibles, I think. Like it's the eye test when it comes to these sort of things where it's, we can say how much better he's been playing, but it's like, I feel like I don't really have the numbers to back it up with you unless you want to really delve deep into advanced stats. But like also at the same time, you have to trust me because we've been watching every single game this season, and he just looks like a better player. Like I almost want to compare. I want to say I'm trying to figure out like which one was his best game since the All-Star break. St. Louis, right? Like this yesterday's game, was that, or right? Would you say that's his best game since?
Because you could see him, and he was like anywhere that you looked, he was there, and he was involved, and he was like he's just the fact that he's always in front of the net, like trying to create chances to score, and if he knows that he can't or he's not in the like best position to score, he still annoys people. He still gets in the way. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Just because like he's not scoring like 10 goals every game, it doesn't mean that he's not like really helping with the goals that are scored, because he is, and like you can see it when you're watching.
I had to think of like, I'm trying maybe like Leafs and Jets. He didn't have one of those games against the Jets was not a good game for him. I'm trying, right? Am I misremembering?
I'm not gonna lie, about 3 days after a game happens, it just kind of all blends into one.
It's like one giant game. Yeah, I know. I'm just trying, like, well, he was taken off the top line, like, around, like, their West Coast road trip. Their Canadian West Coast road trip, I should say.
Yeah.
So I think, like, that,
It
from
was a bit of a
that
shuffle.
stretch of games when he, you know, got shuffled through and he was taken off the top line to now is night and day in terms of just his game is so much better now. And it's not even so much of, like, you know, maybe he has done stuff to improve his game, but it's like, it's not so much that his game has totally changed in a way. Like, he's still the same player. He's just applying it so much better.
Yeah, he's not changed. He's just making much better choices.
Yeah. Morgan Rielly appeal, because there's no practice news for us to go over, because there was no practice today, obviously. So Gary Bettman today, so Morgan Rielly in the NHLPA appealed his suspension, and because it was less than 6 games, it goes directly to the commissioner, aka Gary Bettman. Gary Bettman denied Rielly a reduced sentence, keep the suspension at 5 games. The statement, however, which I do want to read out parts of it because it was interesting. I feel like interesting is
it was interesting.
Interesting was an understatement. I just want to pull up the, like, there's tons of screenshots out there, yes, and we could look those, but I do want to pull out the full statement. I just gotta scroll back through my tweets from today to find it. There was, like, it was like, which is so funny because there is more just pages of pure documentation regarding this suspension than what the league gave out in regards to the Shane Pinto suspension, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I was like reading through it and I was like, okay, Gary. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Here we go. Like, this is 11 pages long. The Morgan Rielly ruling is 11 pages. We've gotten 11 pages from the National Hockey League regarding a 5-game suspension for a cross-check, which is 11 pages more than we've gotten in regards to a 41-game suspension regarding online gambling in Shane Pinto. Anyways, yeah. So my Rielly appeal for the reasons described here, and I find that to desist, it's all very lawyer language. I'm like, did he actually type this up? Okay, describes the event. It essentially, this describes of the event is essentially what was said in the video for Rielly's original suspension. Here we go. Oh, here we go. I'm not required for suspensions of 5 NHL games or less. I am not required to hold a telephonic or in-person hearing, but I agreed to do so at the request of a player in the NHLPA. Interesting. At the league offices in New York, with some attendees joining via Zoom video conference and attendance at the hearing remotely or in person, in addition to and on behalf of Mr. Rielly, where his agent, J.P. Barry, John Gerba, Ron Haynes, David Sinclair from the NHLPA. Oh, because Ron Hainsey works for the NHLPA. Treliving and Shanahan were on behalf of the Leafs. And then some people appeared at the hearing. So George Peros testified from the Department of Player Safety at this appeal hearing. So did Rielly, Treliving, and Shanahan. And then they had some legal counsel. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Holy, this is like the NHLPA's contentions. So this is what the NHLPA argued as for why Morgan Rielly's appeal should get suspended, and that a suspension of up to 3 games would have been appropriate. The conduct did not involve an intentional cross-check to the head because A, Mr. Rielly intended to strike Mr. Gregg's body, B, the primary point of contact was in fact Mr. Gregg's body, and C, Mr. Rielly's stick rode up from the arm to make contact with Gregg's head, and D, once Mr. Rielly realized he had contacted Gregg's head, he released one hand from his stick to mitigate the force of the blow being delivered. 2, Mr. Rielly has no history of supplementary discipline. He is a very good boy. It's not what's in here, sorry. Can you imagine the NHLPA going, Mr. Commissioner, our second point is that Mr. Rielly has no history of supplementary discipline. He is a very good boy.
Oh, no, because like every time I see a tweet about it, all I can think of is like Morgan Rielly just standing there like, Your Honor, I'm literally just a girl.
Literally just a girl. And like his like Sunday best too. He looks like a boy going to church. Like he looks like a child going to church in his like little suit.
He's got his little blue shirt on, I know.
Little blue. Number 3, Mr. Gregg was not injured. And number 4, the 5-game suspension imposed by the Department of Player Safety was excessive in light of supplementary discipline imposed for similar infractions by other players in the past. Analysis, blah, blah, blah. For the reasons that it follows, here we go. The CBA does not, this is Gary Bettman trying to like argue himself. I'm like, the framework for my inquiry, it's like the type of conduct involved, injury to the opposing player, the status of the offender, the situation of the game in which the incident occurred. Such other factors may be appropriate in the circumstances. I review these factors below. Type of conduct involved. This is the one where, is this the one where he says, where like there was a line, I'm trying to find the line in here where he says something. He says like utterly. Oh, here we go. His conduct clearly did not involve a hockey play. Based on my review of the video, I find that Mr. Rielly's actions were not merely careless or reckless. They were intentional. After McGregg was scored and the play was dead, Mr. Rielly skated just in front of the goal to engage Mr. Gregg near the sideboards. Mr. Rielly then delivered a high, forceful cross-check to Mr. Gregg, making significant and dangerous contact to his head. Mr. Rielly had abundance of time in which to consider his actions and could have engaged Mr. Gregg in a number of different, less dangerous ways. Are you implying, like...
I think it's safe to say that me and Gary Bettman are never going to be best friends.
I think we've established that a long time ago that we are never going to be best friends with Gary Bettman. Because what I have to say on this, and I know we've talked at length about this, this is what we did a couple episodes ago, but it is very, very interesting to look at the way that Gary Bettman, who is in charge of the league, who is the same sort of person who says, oh yes, playing in the NHL does not cause CTE, is then, you know, is now here worried about head contact.
Yeah.
Mr. Bettman, if you said that playing in the NHL, playing hockey in the National Hockey League does not potentially lead to being a cause of former players developing CTE, then why are you so against head contact?
Yeah, like...
Why are you, Gary? Do you want to just explain this to me?
Yeah, please elaborate.
Our email is in the show notes. You can send us an email. We'd love to receive an email from you.
Yeah. Imagine we check the email for the first time.
So it's one from Gary Bettman.
And it's just, Gary Bettman, hello, from the fourth line.
The situation, 2 of the 3 boxes in the language, blah, 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 after an active play, blah, blah, blah. Other factors that may... Where does he say utterly? Because there's a part in here where it says utterly. Oh, this one? Here we go. Weighing in the factors described above, I find that 5-game suspension is appropriate. I reached this conclusion for the following reasons. I find, based on my review of the video, that the cross-check was delivered high and forcefully. As noted in the suspension video, Mr. Rielly pursued Mr. Gregg for some time and had sufficient opportunity to engage him in other manner, i.g. with a push or shove, or even dropping his gloves to fight. So, Mr. Bettman, you by this are saying that, hey, if an opposing player takes a slap shot into your empty net, it is okay for you to fight him?
Gary.
Let me continue.
Gary.
Had I done so, there likely wouldn't have been no need for supplementary discipline. Mr. Rielly himself testified that he could have engaged Mr. Gregg in another manner and that he intended to engage Mr. Gregg verbally. Yet, instead of doing so, he chose to cross-check him in the head. Mr. Rielly admitted that his cross-check was intentional. While I accept Mr. Rielly's contention that he did not aim for Mr. Gregg's head, the fact remains that Mr. Rielly raised his stick to the level of Mr. Gregg's head and neck and drove it forcefully and intentionally into Mr. Gregg as Mr. Rielly skated into Mr. Gregg. This is not a case where Mr. Rielly's stick was delivered in the midsection or the shoulder and rode up to Mr. Gregg's head. Although it appears that the stick made initial contact with Mr. Gregg's hand, it was only because Mr. Gregg appears to have seen Mr. Rielly approaching him at the last moment and raised his hand in an unsuccessful attempt to ward off the oncoming blow. The intentional contact with Mr. Gregg's hand did not alter the trajectory of the cross-check to Mr. Gregg's head. There's another one here. I also did not credit the contention that Mr. Rielly attempted to mitigate the force of the cross-check by removing one hand from his stick. Okay. Mr. Rielly did not simply extend his arms to deliver the cross-check. After skating for several seconds, he leaned into the check with his body, adding force to the blow. Sure. The fact that one hand came off the stick after the blow to Mr. Gregg's head did not appear to mitigate the force of blow. How would you know, Gary? Have you ever gotten a cross-check to the head?
I think, like, when
or can we line up and let you know, like, let you experience that for yourself?
Yeah, Gary, if you want to experience a cross-check to the head, please email us.
Email us. I'm sure we can find a long list of people on Twitter who would be willing to help with that.
Like when I was reading, like, just everything, I was sat there and I was like, I think I read it all. I kind of sat there in silence for a minute. I just went, "Oh, fuck off, Gary!" Like, oh, it just.
Oh my! Sorry, I'm sorry. This next paragraph is. This one is.
What?
Here we go. No. This fourth point by Gary Bettman. The cross-check was delivered as retribution for an unnecessary and seldom seen play that Mr. Rielly believed may have been intended to embarrass Toronto. Although much of the testimony offered by I'm sorry, they put the plural of Mr. in here. Mr. You know when you read like Harry Potter, they use like old British English that you're like, what is this? I feel like I'm talking like a house elf right now. Jesus Christ, Gary. Rielly, Treliving, and Shanahan at the hearing concerned whether Mr. Gregg's slapshot was provocative. That discussion is utterly irrelevant. Mr. Rielly's actions were not undertaken in self-defense. They were not accidental, and they were not reflexive. Reflexive? They were simply careless. They were not simply careless or merely reckless, with plenty of time to think about what he was going to do next. Mr. Rielly approached Mr. Gregg from the side and then used his stick as a weapon. Jesus Christ! To deliver the type of blow to the head that the league has repeatedly made clear will not be tolerated. Is it now, Gary?
Why will it
Is
not
this
be
the
tolerated?
same form of thought that you go
Gary.
through when you find Jacob Trouba $5,000 for hitting Trent Frederick's head like it was a ball on a tee, and he was trying to hit a line drive to left center?
No, because it's like at this point, like he's essentially saying, you can't cross-check someone in a similar manner to Morgan Rielly, but if you want to take a baseball swing directly at a player's head, feel free. If you're willing to spare $5,000, go crazy. Like,
I acknowledge here we go. I acknowledge that Mr. Rielly does not have a history of supplementary discipline and that Mr. Gregg did not suffer an injury. As the DPS video made clear, these facts were already taken into consideration when determining that a 5-game suspension was appropriate given the nature of the conduct. Mr. Rielly's suspension almost certainly would have been considerably longer if he did not have a clean record or there had been an injury. The NHL contended that the comparator evidence it presented at the hearing compels a suspension of no more than 3 games. The 4 primary suspensions cited by the NHLPA involves the suspension of Alex Chasson, 1 game, Jeff Skinner, 3 games, Blake Lizotte, 1 game, and Evander Kane, 1 playoff game. The NHLPA acknowledged that the acts leading to those suspensions were not identical to each other or the conduct here. I've considered the argument that a 5-game suspension is disproportionate to Mr. Rielly's conduct in light of those suspensions, and I disagree. None of those suspensions involved anything like a level of 4. Are you kidding? I know exactly which Jeff Skinner and Alexander Kane suspension they're talking about. Are you joking?
Yeah, it's like, come on.
Come on.
Like, I apologize to your dad for how much I'm swearing just in this, but what the fuck? Like, come on.
None of those suspensions, and none of them involve the same kind of predatory behavior as was exhibited by Mr. Rielly. If you had told me at the start of the season there would be a sentence put out by the NHL as a league that used predatory behavior and Morgan Rielly in the same sentence, I would have told you you're crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, of the 4 cited cases, the most forceful cross-check was the one delivered by Mr. Skinner, which resulted in a 3-game suspension. The conduct here was considerably more forceful and premeditated.
Right. There's premeditated, and then there's, oh, I have taken about 3 seconds to make this decision, and then I'm gonna do it. Like, come on.
I note that during the course of the hearing, NHLPA argued that the recent 6-game suspension of David Perron should not be considered as a comparator because of the pending appeal from my decision in that case. You still haven't decided on this, Gary? I disagree with that argument as well, and note that the NHLPA, which argued for a 4-game suspension in the Perron case, did not offer any argument distinguishing the conduct in the Perron case from the conduct here. Mr. Shanahan referred to what he characterized as a small but significant difference between this particular hit and the Perron cross-check, but he did not elaborate. In any event, the applicability of Perron is irrelevant, with or without consideration of Mr. Perron's suspension. A suspension of at least 5 games for Mr. Rielly was appropriate. Indeed, given the 4-game suspension that I imposed on a conduct less serious nature by another player who engaged in reckless but not intentional conduct, Jason Spezza, ayo, the suspension here could well have been higher. So that sentence is for all of the people who were saying that Morgan Rielly should have gotten at least 10 games.
I give up.
Finally, I commend Mr. Rielly for forthrightly disavowing suggestions that have been made publicly by others that his actions were somehow appropriate. Certainly, the conduct leading to this suspension is out of character with his long record of clean play in the NHL. It is my hope and expectation that the events leading to the suspension were an aberration that will not be repeated. Yeah. So that's all of it. And then he signs off at the end and he's like, I'm Mr. Gary Bettman. So that's that. I think Gary Bettman is crazy. I think he's lost his mind.
I want to know where I can send Gary Bettman hate mail.
I think probably maybe directly to the NHL offices.
Like, I'll pay for the postage happily. I'm writing
that was a really long reading.
Handwritten letter.
I just think that it's like one of those things which is like crazy to read through because you're like, I can't believe this was a piece of literature. I'm calling it literature. I can't believe this is a piece of text put out by the league.
Oh god, it hurts my brain.
Gary Bettman using utterly in an official statement. Sorry. But yeah, so that just means we won't see Morgan Rielly back until Vegas, which is like, okay, fine, whatever.
Like, what's done is done. But also, I'm gonna be mad about it for a while.
Yeah. I know. No, me too. This is gonna be one of those things where I'm gonna be like, sure. Okay. Just know, Gary, this is not the first time you've wronged me.
And it will not be the last.
It will not be the last. The league's not going to invite us anywhere with how we keep talking about Gary Bettman. But
yeah, they're like, oh, these girls from this podcast want to,
we want media passes for the Four Nations face-off.
And then they're like, let's do our research. And it's just like, and then like they email back and like, unfortunately, we are not able to give you media passes. Why? This hour-long compilation of various threats made towards Gary Bettman's life.
I just think, like, you know what? He needs to retire. I'm sorry.
He's old.
Rob Manfred, who is about 9 years younger than him, is the commissioner of the MLB. He is retiring in 2024. He announced, not 2024, 2029. He has announced his retirement which is, yes, 5 years from now, but also, at least there's a deadline. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Gary Bettman, come on.
I just think
you can't keep doing this. This is like when you get really old politicians who like don't want to give up.
It's like there comes a time and you are past it. Like, give someone else a chance. Please.
You should give it. Speaking of giving other people a chance. Well, not really. Well, first of all, we can talk about Columbus firing its GM, and then I realized we didn't really talk about what we could see tomorrow's game. So, Leafs take on the Arizona Coyotes tomorrow, and then then we'll be back with another episode on Thursday before they take on the Vegas Golden Knights. But in a back-to-back, Arizona Coyotes, 2 hometown boys there. I think it's going to be a very sold-out crowd. Yeah. I've heard tickets are hard to come by. But Auston Matthews, Matthew Nyes said he's having about 50 to 60 friends and family in attendance, which he then went on to joke was about probably a full section in the Mullet Arena.
Yeah. It was not far off.
Probably not, but
in my delusion, in my various states of delusion, I have convinced myself that Matthew Nyes is going to score a hat trick.
You know what? You want to know what my prediction for the game is?
Oh, do tell.
All right. Auston Matthews is going to score his 50th goal of the season. Matthew Nyes is going to score a goal. The Leafs are going to lose 3-2 in overtime to an Alexander Kerfoot OT winner, assisted by Travis Dermott.
Yeah.
Or even worse.
I hate the fact that is something that will probably happen.
Or even worse, it'll go to a shootout, and it'll be a Kerfoot shootout winner. I still think about that Ottawa shootout winner. I still think about that because what a day was it for us on this app, on Twitter.
Oh God, what a time.
It was magical.
You give me Kerfoot shootout winner. I give you Kerfoot hat trick and shootout winner.
That means he's scoring technically 4 goals because shootout goals don't go towards their goal tally.
Emma, are you doubting the ability, the skill of one Leafs legend, Alexander Kerfoot? Are you doubting him?
Does Alexander Kerfoot even have a career hat trick?
I don't think so. I don't know, actually.
He does not.
Well, you know what? He's about to get one. if he's ever gonna get a hat trick, it's
No, but
gonna be tomorrow night.
that's what it's gonna be. I think Logan Cooley will factor in on one of the Coyotes' goal because he's gonna play against his former UMinn teammate Matthew Nyes.
It's just gonna.
I can see it all coming together in my brain.
It's gonna be a game of narratives.
Oh, absolutely! It's every time you have it's this, the Carolina games, the Detroit games we had this season. It's all just coming together.
Yeah, it's miserable.
But yeah, it's going to be a 10 p.m. game, though, Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a late game because they're on the West Coast and it is during the week. So unfortunately, but I will say, though, this back-to-back that we have coming up this week will be, I think, the last time the Leafs have a late game.
Oh, my God.
I believe it is so. I think then the latest they have after that is 7:30. Yeah. 7:30. They have quite a few games that start at 7:30 when they do sort of the Metro sweep. They do a little bit of a Metro sweep through there, and those games always start at 7:30, which is very, very strange. But yeah, speaking of some news that happened, this is we're kind of late to the party on this news. It happened on Thursday, but we of course recorded Thursday's episode very early in the morning before any news dropped. It was very funny though, however, where it was I literally have it in my notes written on Thursday. I was like, hopefully nothing happens on Thursday during the day. And then that day at 9:30, Columbus Blue Jackets announced that they had fired their GM, Jarmo Kekalainen. In a statement, they said that John Davidson, who is the president of hockey operations, and the team's hockey ops department will assume GM duties until the team hires a replacement. Kekalainen has been the GM since 2013. So he's been in the role for a long time. You know what? I think, Columbus right now is not in a good place this season in terms of just how their record is. But I do think that it's a really interesting I don't want to call it an NHL team a project. But for whoever comes next as GM, it is a really interesting and exciting future for the team. They have a lot of good prospects in the pipeline. As also they have a really nice, fun young core with guys I think Johnny Gaudreau's older now, right? He's got to be 26, 27. I'm surprised. Yeah. But I'm you got Adam Fantilli there, and you've got quite another. Well, he's 30 already. Holy crap. Okay, well, he's older than Patrick Laine. Jesus Christ. So I do think though, you've got some fun there for sure. Kent Johnson is in there as well. Krylmachenko. Cole Sillinger as well. Oh my God, they have so many guys where their birth year starts with 2. Zach Werenski. Oh my God. I always forget that Adam Fantilli's a 04 and it throws me off.
Oh, how he's younger than me.
I don't like it that he's younger than us either. I'm like,
it's unsettling.
It's very unsettling because I'm like, oh, what do you mean he's an 04 and he's already done a year of college? Well, a year of college too, because he played a year at UMich. And then I remember, oh wait, I'm in my 3rd year of university. Of course, a guy 1 year younger than me would have time to do 1 year of university before getting drafted into the NHL.
I don't like it. I really don't like it.
I'm not a fan of this. But yeah,
what do you mean someone born in 2004 is playing in the NHL and I'm sat here stressing about my next coursework deadline?
care. But yeah, so I think for sure, like, this team has opportunities. I think, whoever comes on next is going to have an eye in how to. It's definitely a rebuild project for sure, but it's fun. What you're left with is fun. Like for sure. Hold on, I just want to see what their picks look like for like the next little while. I'm looking at their cap friendly. I want to look. Whoa. In the next 3 drafts, they only are without a 2nd round pick and a 7th round pick. And that's this year's. So you're looking at almost basically a full slate of draft picks. Plus, because you have an extra 3rd round in this year's draft and an extra 7th round in 2025, on top of some really exciting young prospects. And your cap space is in a really good spot. Like, yes, okay, you still have Alex Wenberg's like buyout on your books for the next 2 seasons after this one, but that's at less than $900,000.
Yeah, it's not.
How quickly do you think I could become an NHL GM? Because I want this.
Oh my god, no, we could be like joint GMs. How cute would that be?
I want this.
We just like turn up and we're like, but Mum said it's our turn to be the GM.
It's our turn to play with the little hockey players.
It's our turn to play with the little men on skates.
Oh my god. No, I want this. I want this.
One day.
Like, their average age for this season's roster, 25.7.
Oh, wow. That was crazy.
Now, there's a couple things here, like, you have to re-sign. Like, there's a couple of RFAs pending for next year. But, oh my god. Yeah, like, anyways. Hey, at Columbus Blue Jackets, if you need people, if you're still looking for GMs and you need some candidates, me and Marcie are free.
We're fun.
Call us up. We can add some fun vibes to your team. This is how you grow the game. You put 2 university students in charge of your NHL team.
Yes.
Think of all the free swag we get too.
Duh.
That's not why we're doing it. We're doing it because we love the game, but also free merch would be nice. Speaking of which, Stadium Series, this transition, speaking of the Columbus Blue Jackets, we're talking about the Stadium Series. This makes sense, I promise. Stadium Series happened last weekend. I found it mildly unsettling that they had like actors walking. Like, I think there was like the whole concept around it was supposed to be a park, except it was like off of a turnpike in New Jersey, which I'm no New Jersey expert. We'd have to ask our local New Jersey expert. But like, how many parks are there off of a turnpike? I don't think there's very many. But it was weird because there was like actors acting as if they were in a park for the entirety of both games. Did you see those videos?
I saw like a few. I didn't watch the Flyers Devils.
I didn't either.
I've only seen like clips and like little bits.
But did you not see like the clips of the actors like pretending they were in a park? That was so unsettling.
It
was for
weird.
the entirety of the game. There were these actors that the league had hired to just act as if they were in a park for like 2 hours.
I didn't like it.
The Jonas Brothers performed, though, and apparently they were very good.
Yeah.
So, hats off to the Joe Bros. Yeah, there was some fun walk-ins. The Flyers walked in dressed as Rocky from Rocky, and the New Jersey Devils dressed like they were Italian mobsters. Like, you know that one like plot line in Brooklyn Nine-Nine where he goes undercover, like an Italian mob family, and then he comes out like wearing like tracksuits and an earring. They looked like that.
Yeah, I had thoughts.
We know we have thoughts. And then also as well, because, you know, the New York Islanders are currently run by Lou Lamoriello, they had just suits. You could say they were going as investment bankers from Long Island. Yeah. That was what it was. Gary, that was Lou Lamoriello approved, you know, investment bankers from Long Island. And then New York did it like they rode in on fire trucks, which I thought were cool. And then they also did it like in support of the NYPD, which like wasn't cool. But like when they I liked when they rode in on fire trucks. And unless someone is really against firefighters, you can't tell me that wasn't cool.
It was so cool. But like at the same time, where were the slutty fireman costumes? Like I'm sorry, you want to grow the game, but you're not gonna give us NHL players dressed as slutty firemen.
You're not gonna give us like
anything.
You're not gonna give us like Mika Zibanejad in like turnout gear, but like without the jacket and shirtless underneath. What's the point?
Yeah, it's like
you mean new dad Mika Zibanejad.
Like we didn't even get a glimpse at an ankle. It was dire. But
like the fire trucks were fun.
Yeah. The fire trucks are fun.
Sometimes we are 8-year-old boys and can be easily won over by a fire truck.
I love fire trucks.
Also as well, like hats off to hats off to New York Rangers in general for their ability to come back and win against the Islanders. I think it was very impressive how they did that. Also, Matt Rempe, first NHL game, Stadium Series, first NHL fight, and against Leafs legend Matt Martin. And also got the New York Rangers like player of the game hat that they do from Chris Kreider.
Good for him.
Good for him. Welcome to the NHL, kid. Also, as well as why I said this kind of links up to New Jersey Devils. You know how last episode we said what we want. Was it last episode or was it 2 episodes? We said what we wanted instead of a winter classic at Wrigley Field against St. Louis and Chicago, and we said what did we want? New Jersey not New Jersey, the Columbus Blue Jackets and Detroit Red Wings at Ohio State's football stadium. And we got it. The 2025 Stadium Series, the NHL announced, will be between the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Detroit Red Wings at Ohio State's football stadium. NHL, you're welcome.
You're welcome, guys. We're amazing. We're also available for hire.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, call us, email us. We got you.
Please.
It also was announced that there will be an All-Star game in 2026 and that it will take place on Long Island. I almost said in Long Island. It's on Long Island. The New York Islanders will be the All-Star Game hosts in 2026. Somehow we're gonna Leafs fans are gonna end up voting John Tavares there.
Oh yeah, he is going. He will be there.
There also league also announced that there will all be an All-Star Game in 2027. Then there was also a little bit. There was a report by David Pagnotta that he put out that there will be a global series, quote unquote, next season. Buffalo will play exhibition games in Munich. I'm assuming against some German league teams, and then they will play New Jersey Devils in Prague for 2 games to kick off the 2024-2025 season. And then in November of that same season, Dallas in Florida and Tampere, Finland for 2 games. I didn't know there was a big following of hockey in Prague.
What if I just happened to find myself in Prague?
In Prague?
What if I just woke up one day and I was like, oh my God, how did I get here?
How did I get to Prague? Isn't Prague also really cheap to travel in? Or am I mixing it up with another European city that starts with the letter P?
I mean, a lot of places in Europe you can get to cheap.
Yeah, I'm well aware how you can get I'm well aware of how you can get Ryanair flights for $69 to literally anywhere in Europe. I'm well aware. It makes me very, very jealous as someone where it literally will cost me $300 to fly to Montreal.
Well, you know what? Maybe if you lived here, you'd be able to make use of it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but also, I don't want to stay up that late for hockey games.
Well, you get to experience me half asleep in a weird state of I don't know what's going on. Just saying. I'm just saying.
I'm quite happy with my time zone. Thank you very much. But yeah. Also for those who are not keeping track, like we are, Easton Cowan, Leafs prospect.
Leafs legend.
Still on an active 24 game point streak in the OHL with the London Knights, which is crazy.
He's not real.
His OHL stat line actually insane. Top tier elite prospects page there. It's here we go. This season, in 55 games, he has 35 goals, 63 assists for 98 points. Oh, that's his projected. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong stat.
And I was like, that's not what I've got written down.
42 games, 27 goals, 48 assists for 75 points. I was going to say, I was like, there's no way this kid already has 81 penalty minutes.
Oh.
Anyways, I'm patiently waiting for the Easton Cowan and Fraser Minton matchup in the Med Cup.
He's young.
You.
Oh my God, no! I forgot what year my sister was born, and then I thought he was younger than my sister, and that really scared me.
No. That's this year's draft picks who are going to be born in 2006.
No, they're not. Oh no, they're not. What do you mean my sister could get drafted into the NHL?
Oh, I know. That's what I'm thinking too. I'm like, if my sister was in hockey, she could be drafted. She's hard enough. But I am looking forward to that. I think that, it'll be a Leafs locker room divided. For sure on that one. just who it's like the true question will be is where does John Tavares' loyalties lie? Does it lie with the kid who lived in his basement in Fraser Mitten, or does it lie with the 38 games across the regular season and the playoffs that he played with the London Knights in 2009 in Easton Cowan?
Decisions to make. John.
We know where Mitch Marner's loyalties lie.
We didn't even have to think about where Mitch Marner's loyalties lie.
Oh, my favorite thing is that he like still has like London Knights like 93 in his Instagram bio. Like, kid,
he's like
been in the show for 8 seasons.
He's like those people that are like still obsessed with something.
They're high school. It's like those
high school.
It's like those kids who still be like, remember when we were in high school?
And it's like, no, because it was that long ago.
There was that one time in high school and I was like, that's him in the locker room. It's like, but there was this one time in junior.
It's like, oh my god, wait, do you guys remember in junior? And everyone just turns around and goes, no.
Well, I think that's where we're going to leave it today. We will be back Thursday with another episode. Hopefully, the Leafs extend their win streak to 5. Odds are, though, we have to preemptively congratulate Alex Kerfoot on his game winner. I have the meme folder already ready. I have so many Alex Kerfoot memes I can finally use again. How many times do you think I can use Curve, my favorite teammate? Curve, my favorite teammate. How many times do you think How many times do you think I can use that before it gets old?
I don't think it's ever gonna get old. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
we'll be pulling up the permanent vacation edit.
Oh my god, yes. So thank you so much for listening. We will now be going back to listening to Permanent Vacation on loop until tomorrow at 10 p.m. And then we'll have another episode on Thursday prior to the Leafs taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. You can find the show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow the show on Twitter at From the Fourth Line. You can follow me and Marcie at 60 Leafs for Marcie, at Pearby1 for myself. Yeah, thank you. That's it. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.